mamacita, really wanna meet ya. When I slide through ya, really wanna keep ya. Join you in Chanel, think about you all the time. Louis V, Gucci on, you looking fine.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined here. We've got probably, I would say, the biggest guest in our podcast history here. We've got the director of the House of Highlights, host of the In Your Howse podcast, with over 26,000 monthly listeners. We've got Alakon House, Mr. Director, the director himself. How are you doing today, man?
Hey, I'm pretty good, man. How you doing, bro?
Not too bad, not too bad. Another beautiful Saturday. A
Yeah,
little hot
man.
outside.
Yeah, it's a warm one, bro.
I was outside running some accounts this morning. I about died out there.
Woo, man. Yeah, it is a hot one out there. So if you can stay inside, you probably should.
Most definitely, yeah. So let's get right into things. We're going to start off with talking about the right hand of God, Sam Knight. Your client, of course,
My
was a big
man.
match tonight. We've seen Braden Lee recently on AEW Dark in the United Center. I actually got a chance to see him live. So they should have a pretty good match tonight at Merge 56, I believe it is.
Yeah, it's a Merge 56. It's the Outbreak 8 tournament. It's going down over in North Vernon, Indiana. We're just a couple of hours out from the show. It's going to be a really great show. What it is it's a tournament to determine their Outbreak Championship, which is basically like their secondary championship, like the Intercontinental Championship or the TV Championship or the TNT Championship. It's their secondary title. And what it is it's going to be a one-night tournament. And at the end of the night, the two competitors who get through the tournament are going to have a ladder match to determine the new Outbreak champion. So it's going to be a really great night. So I definitely urge anybody that's in North Vernon or around that area to come out because it's going to be a really great night of wrestling. And Sam's going to go through and run through Mr. AEW Dark Braden Lee.
Sounds like it's going to be a good time. We've also got a really big match here in Muncie. You know, for the people here local in Muncie, we've got a really big event with it's Harvest Havoc number 3. It's the third one already.
Yeah.
October 3rd. He's got a casket match. He's going to put that DCCW World Title on the line against Gangrel. So that should be a very interesting match as well.
Yeah, that's going to be a great match, man. And you were there at Summer Shakedown for the last show. And so you kind of see how DCCW works. And if I can, I'd like to talk a little bit of DCCW just real quick, just kind of because I've been with DCCW since the beginning, Skylar. And I mean, to see the changes that have happened just in the last couple of years, man, have been really great to see. You know, they're bringing in a lot of young talent. I've been working with Mike King and Terry Coons to help out with this promotion and to make it as great as it possibly can be. We had you and Jacob come through and Shaq come and do commentary, which, by the way, you guys did a fantastic job.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, seriously, you guys did really, really great. So it'll be great to have you guys back for October 3rd. But yeah, Sam has a really big match against Gangrel, DCCW World Heavyweight Championship on the line. I actually cut a promo for it on the DCCW page on Facebook. If you guys want to go and check that out, if your listeners want to go check that out, we're just promoting the match and just having fun, man. We're telling stories. And I think that that's one of the main things that we want to do at DCCW is push young talent. Like you see guys like Dex Royal, you see guys like the Highlight Reel, you see guys like JB, Zay Gates, a lot of these young guys that are coming out from Indianapolis, WCWO, just learning. I mean, Rachel Armstrong with their fantastic 450.
She's amazing.
She's awesome, man. She's awesome. So that's what you're going to get when you get DCCW, guys. When you go to a DCCW show at Mad Jackson, Muncie, Indiana, you're going to get a lot of great young talent. You're going to get good storytelling. Yeah, every now and again, like Harvest Havoc 3, our third annual Harvest Havoc, you're going to get really great. You're going to get really great surprises like Gangrel, like Boogeyman, like Rikishi. It's going to be a really great show, man. So if you guys can come out, see the right hand of God, put Gangrel in a casket and close that casket and retain his DCCW championship and just enjoy it. You guys, it's going to be a great, great night.
I'll definitely be sure to link the promo in the description, guys. Make sure you take a look at that. And I'll also link in, if you guys haven't seen his podcast yet, In Your Howse. If you're a wrestling fan and you haven't listened to it, you're doing yourself an extreme disservice. It's a great content. He puts out great content every week, and I'll be sure to link everything in the description for you guys, so you guys can take a look at that as well. But let's get into. I start off with WWE always. I save the main event for AEW because, of course, I'm an AEW fan myself. But we're gonna start with WWE.
Sure.
The first segment, we look back at Seth Rollins when he was one of the biggest babyfaces in the company, but going into Hell in a Cell with Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. We think about how their booking basically forced their hand into turning him heel with this new character, the Monday Night Messiah and the Friday Night Messiah. Do you see any resemblance into how they're kind of doing the same thing with Becky Lynch here, with how they put her over a young Bianca Belair here, in basically 30 seconds?
Well, yeah, I could definitely see it. I mean, from everything that you read, if you read the dirt sheets, and if you're a fan, if you're a big fan like me, I'm still a huge fan, even though I'm involved, and you're a huge fan as well. You read the dirt sheets, you know what I mean? I've been reading dirt sheets for years and years and years, ever since I was super young, So you see what happened at SummerSlam and you see how it made people feel. I mean, the internet really reacted to that. And from what I understand, that's exactly what Vince was going for, was to try to get people to react. But it really feels like it's counterproductive with all the time they put into Bianca Belair and to build her up as a legitimate champion, as a legitimate competitor. And in 26 seconds, it was all gone. So you look at it and you look at it and you're like, why would they do something like this? But even if you watch Friday Night SmackDown, which I got a chance to watch Friday Night SmackDown here in the hotel, me and my family pulled up to a hotel here, get ready for tonight's Emerge show. So I sat down and had an opportunity to watch, SmackDown. And it's like, what are you going to possibly do? What could you possibly do to get these fans to actually boo Becky Lynch? Because she's done this. We've seen this in the past, Skylar. We've seen this in the past with Becky Lynch, where Becky would do heelish type things and the crowd still cheers her, still reacts to her in a positive way. It doesn't matter. If anything, I really think, Skylar, that what they did was counterproductive to the growth of Bianca Belair, because let's face it, Becky Lynch is a person that is now bigger than the title. Like you think of names like Sasha Banks, you think of names like Bayley, you think of names like Charlotte Flair. Even though Charlotte Flair is now a 12-time champion, you think of those names. You think these women, these competitors, these wrestlers make an impact on the show without having to hold the title,
Yes.
without having to hold the title at all. So why would you have her come back and do something like that and just take the title off of Bianca Belair, who is still trying to establish herself as a top star, who is still trying to establish herself as a credible champion? And I think that she had a credible title reign. So I really think what they did, Skylar, was kind of counterproductive, because it really didn't do anything for Becky Lynch. The crowd's still cheering her. She's still one of the top faces in the company, whether it be face or heel. She's still a face of WWE. I think what they did was counterproductive, and I think that it's troublesome to see something like that when it's really not needed.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Fox Friday Night SmackDown debut with Kofi and Brock Lesnar. It's just like, if you want Becky to be a heel, why wouldn't you build some crazy storyline to where she's, making Bianca's life a living hell, and
Yeah,
she's being a heel versus, and even if you did want her to be the champion at SummerSlam, that's fine. Maybe it was something to
yeah,
make up for Sasha Banks not being cleared to compete, but,
yeah.
at least give her 15 minutes in the ring.
Give her a
No.
match, right? Like, make it a decent match that still you can pop the crowd by Becky Lynch winning the championship, but you didn't have to totally squash Bianca the way that you did, because we all know that Bianca Belair is one of the strongest women on the roster, one of the most resilient women on the roster, and she could have gave her a good 10 to 15-minute match, still lost the title, and it didn't look as bad as it did, because Skylar, it looked really bad. And yeah, you're not the only one, because I definitely got those vibes when Kofi Kingston lost his championship to Brock Lesnar on the first night of Friday Night SmackDown, or the first night on Fox, that is. And it's just a bad look. I just don't understand the booking as a whole. I can't say that I do, but come on, man, let's be honest here. I know I got to kind of play middle of the ground here because I'm involved in the business, but a lot of questionable WWE decisions have been being made just in the last year or so. And that's not just in the last year. It goes back years and years and years. So you kind of got to ask yourself, what's WWE doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I watched SummerSlam late because I was at the DCW event doing that broadcasting, and
Yeah.
I was gonna watch the entire event. But after that Becky Lynch match, I actually turned off SummerSlam and I finished it the next morning. I
Wow.
could not get myself to. I was so frustrated because I love
Yeah.
Bianca Belair. I think she is, in terms of athleticism, she is the best women's wrestler in the world right now, in my opinion. Now, I
Yeah.
know a lot of
Sure.
people will say Impact Wrestling's Deonna Purrazzo is also a very good wrestler. I'm not taking anything away from her, Charlotte Flair, but I think from
Sure.
an athletic standpoint, what she does in the ring, I mean, she reminds me of a Ray Phoenix, basically. She's just
Oh, yeah.
super athletic, and she's so strong. I mean, she's got
Yeah.
everything. What does Vince not see in her? That is my theory. I mean, she is literally the atypical Vince McMahon person. She's huge, and she's an entertainer. So, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just confused as to why they just wanted to kill her off so quickly. Getting into, did you see the new NXT logo by chance?
Yeah, I did. I wasn't sure if it was an NXT logo or if they were redoing in living color. I don't know, man. I'm like,
I was questioning whether or not they're making a move to Nickelodeon. That was my question. That's what I thought.
I, I mean, we can't be too surprised by it, Skylar, really, because they said Nick Khan said that they're doing a whole revamp. They're changing everything. I don't know if you heard, but they're actually, from what I understand, if you believe the dirt sheets, and I'm not saying that your listeners need to believe the dirt sheets, but they're all out there for you guys to read. They're not even scouting independent talent anymore. They're not even looking to do that anymore. And that's very frustrating, man. That's very frustrating, especially for somebody like me that is around independent talent almost every weekend. I interview them on In Your Howse. Guys, go check that out when you guys get a chance to, all major podcast platforms. It's frustrating because, you guys, you see these guys here, these guys and gals, that are working really hard, Skylar, that are perfecting their craft, that are going out every single weekend, 2, sometimes even 3 times, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, to go out there, wrestle, perfect their craft in the ring, perfect their storytelling, perfect their psychology, perfect their mic skills. And now it's just like, if it wasn't for AEW, if AEW wasn't around, Skylar, these guys wouldn't have a chance to even get to the main event, to get to the big dance, to get to national television. So it's just really frustrating. I think that people see the NXT logo, the before NXT logo, because, man, I've been watching NXT since they merged from FCW.
Oh,
since the merger,
the best part about WWE, in my opinion. NXT was amazing.
Yeah, man. And like when you've watched it since the FCW merger, like me, and I'm not talking about that awful game show. I'm talking about FCW merging with NXT and creating stars that you see today. You see him over in AEW. John Moxley was a part of that merger. Roman Reigns was a part of that merger. Seth Rollins, the first ever NXT champion, was a part of that. Bray Wyatt, back then known as Husky Harris. You see so much of this, and you ask yourself, why is it time to change? What is the reason for the change? But the logo itself, if you look on social media, man, I'm seeing nothing but laugh reacts. But laugh reacts to this new NXT logo. But but on the flip side of things, on the business side of things, if this is what WWE is deciding they're going to do, they're going to have to stand firm on it. They're going to have to understand that people are not going to be okay with this change. So they're just going to have to push through it. And then we're going to have to see what the new NXT is going to look like, man.
You see, I think it comes back to they're trying to build some hype around a new debut because they're worried about these ratings and they're worried about USA. I imagine if you read the dirt sheet, I'm sure you've been reading about USA is not very happy with debut right now, whether it be NXT or Raw right now. They're very frustrated with both programs right now and the product they're getting on both ends of those spectrums. But I just think it comes back to them not listening to their fans again. They're doing what they think needs to be done, and they're not listening to the people who pay the bills are the ones that are watching your product and investing in your product, and I just don't think they really care at this point, in my opinion.
Well, we've been seeing this for years, right? I've been watching for years. We've been seeing it for years. And that's the fact that when we want WWE to take a left, they take a right. So, we've been seeing it for years. And that's why people are so on board with the AEW product now, because AEW does such a great job of listening to the fans, and we're seeing these names that are showing up now. Look, even some of the dirt sheets are saying that we could possibly even see Daniel Bryan showing up at All Out. I'm sure we're going to talk about that later on the AEW side of things. But the fact that, but the point of what I'm saying, Skylar, is that it's really frustrating because WWE, and especially Vince McMahon, from my perspective, once again, I've never been in the same room as Vince. I don't know, but you hear a lot of stuff like that, and it makes you think. He thinks that what he says goes, and then after that, the fans are just going to have to follow suit. And of course, you're going to have those WWE loyalists that are always going to tune into the product, no matter how bad it is. Man, I can't sit through a Monday Night Raw anymore. That's just a fact. I can't sit through a Monday.
I don't even try.
I can't. You want me? You seriously want me to spend 3 hours from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. when I got work the next day?
They're talking about adding a fourth hour. Nick Khan said they might add a fourth. Yeah, they said there might be a 4th hour added to Raw. It is a possibility. That's a real thing.
Awful. Seriously, it's awful. And I can't even get through an hour and a half, and that's being generous. Being generous.
I agree.
I mean, you see two guys. What's the WWE formula that you see? I'm gonna tell you what the WWE formula is that you see. You'll see wrestler A, who might be the WWE champion, come out, and then you hear wrestler B come out, and then wrestler B says, "Oh well, you should fight me tonight for that WWE championship." And then everybody gets excited, like, "Oh, we're about to see a title match tonight." And then what happens? You see wrestler C and D come out, and then they're saying, "Oh, well, we want an opportunity for the title match too." And then what do you get after that? You get a tag team match. It's so formulaic. It's too formulaic.
They've done the same matches on Raw for the last 3 months too. I can't count how many times I've seen AJ Styles versus Riddle or Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. I mean, I'm just like I don't get it. Moving into something that I think they are doing well. Friday Night SmackDown is a pleasure to watch. I have enjoyed Friday Night SmackDown. I think Pat McAfee is a great broadcaster. I think he has a lot at that program. But I thought I had this Roman Reigns title picture figured out. I thought that they were going to use him to put over a bigger star, because that's the point of having these massive title reigns, is to have another superstar come and get some build off it. And I was thinking, it's got to be Big E Langston, right? It's got to be Big E. He's the next star, but I don't know. I'm kind of scared they're going to go for the cheap pop and have Lesnar take the strap off Reigns. What do you think?
Well, who knows, man? I mean, I got to say, when I got a chance to sit down and watch SmackDown, and you said it yourself, Skylar, that the SmackDown is such a highlight and a joy to watch every single week. Like, I pride myself on not being one of those fans that are just negative all the time, because that's off-putting. How many podcasts do you hear that just trash the WWE product all the time? So I think that if you want to be a legitimate podcast, and this is for anybody out here listening that aspires to be a pro wrestling podcaster, is that you can't just focus on the negative, because then you're going to sound like every other Mark podcast that's out there. So let me just put that out there real quick. But to get back to the point at hand, is I think they're doing a really good thing as far as their storytelling with Roman Reigns and the Usos and Paul Heyman. What did you see last night? You saw the Usos questioning Heyman as far as, "Hey, did you know what was going on with Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam?" He says no. So then that puts a little bit of fear in Heyman, thinking that, well, if the Usos think that, then my tribal chief must think that too. And you kind of saw him a little bit worried when he finally did encounter Roman Reigns. Roman's like, "Hey, everything's the same to me." So the storytelling is really there. The storytelling is really great as far as what they're doing. Definitely one of the best things they're doing on SmackDown, period, and in the entire WWE. But what's this going to lead to? Is this going to lead to Heyman actually turning his back on Roman Reigns? Is this going to lead to him staying aligned with Roman Reigns? Because we all know the history of Brock Lesnar, and we all know the history of Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. So what I think could possibly happen is that we can see a match possibly at Survivor Series that's going to lead Brock Lesnar going up against Roman Reigns, and who knows what'll happen after that. What we could see is a vulnerable Roman Reigns getting cashed in on by Big E. So we might get that new championship reign from Big E, because let's face it, everybody feels like Big E's ready. Big E's time is now. He's been floating around the mid card. He's been the Intercontinental Champion, multiple time tag team champion with the New Day. So it's time for him to get his just dues. So I feel like personally, we might get him cashing in at Survivor Series for a big moment on a vulnerable Roman Reigns who just went hell and back in a match with Brock Lesnar.
That, or if you use Brock as an even bigger stepping stone for Roman, if you do the Roman Rock match at WrestleMania, and then maybe you see a cash in at Mania, that would be a cool moment for Big E Langston. I think he's definitely deserved everything he's gotten. I'm a huge Big E Langston fan, and I'm just excited. I hope they give him what he deserves. I really do. I think it's his time, and I think that he is the next star. And I think if they build him correctly, he could make them a lot of money, as he already has. I mean, the merchandise for the New Day is already one of the most popular, the biggest sellers on WWEshop.com or even at the events, but I think if he has the opportunity to be, I know that you take this with a grain of salt, but he could be on that level of the Rocks and the Austins. I think he is, and it's nice. I think it'll be awesome to see him, someone who's been, from a fan perspective, someone who's watched the product for a long time. It's nice to see someone who's been in the company and you can tell that they've worked very hard for this, get their moment. So.
Oh yeah. For sure. And on top of that, before we move on, he's a solid in-ring worker, but most importantly, he's intriguing on the microphone. And I think that that's very important for a top star to be able to engage you on the mic and be able to keep your interest. So yeah, big ups to Big E. Everything he's doing is great. And when he does cash in, it's going to be a great moment for wrestling fans and of course him, but wrestling fans as a whole.
Before we move on, you made a really good point there, so I've got to mention this as well. Is you said about it's very important to be good on the mic and have that charisma, and that is 100% true, and we can prove that because if you look at Friday Night SmackDown right now, if you look at Roman Reigns' entire main roster career, the fans rejected him. The minute you give the man a microphone, he gets a little bit of charisma. He's had some experience in Hollywood. I mean, he's one of the most over wrestlers on the roster right now.
Yep. Oh yeah, it matters. Talking matters.
That's 100% true. You've got to sell yourself. Sell your gimmick, sell who you are to the audience, and if you do it well enough, they'll grip on. So that's a good point. Moving on to our last segment with WWE, and it's probably going to segue into our All Elite Wrestling portion. We got to talk about Adam Cole. Adam Cole, baby.
Yep. Baby. Yep.
I think he's trying really hard. He's working. He's working a lot with a lot of these fans. He took his Shop WWE link off his Twitter. He canceled his stream last night, so everybody thought he was a lock for SmackDown. Without him heading to SmackDown, where do you see him going, and where would you prefer to see him go as a wrestler?
That's a great question. If you're asking me as a wrestling fan, I mean, just straight up, without giving your audience any more suspense, is AEW. Just straight up. And I know everybody's going to talk about, AEW is making the same mistakes that WCW made. Let me pose this to your audience. Let me just put this out there for them. Okay. When you see an Adam Cole, who's a 5-star match machine, when you see Bray Wyatt, one of the greatest storytellers in modern day history, when you see Daniel Bryan, one of the best technical wrestlers and one of the most over guys that you've seen in the last 10 or 20 years, why would you not pick them up? I like, seriously, any of your guys' audience who might be thinking that AEW is making the same mistakes as WCW or that they're getting ex-WWE guys, which I hate that argument, by the way, but that's a whole nother thing we could talk about for another time. When you see these guys that are available, why would you not take them? So as far as Adam Cole goes, he's doing a really good job of keeping the audience guessing, keeping the fans guessing, which I think that's important because you don't want people to think, he's a lock for AEW just because he canceled all the WWE stuff on his Twitter, or he's a lock for SmackDown because he didn't do a stream. And everybody knows that WWE is locking down on streams and locking down on third-party things like Cameo. So he's doing a good job of misdirecting. I mean, you even have CM Punk putting letters like AC on his sneakers, so this stuff is important. One big thing about professional wrestling is having surprises is important. It's important, you know what I mean? And being able to keep people guessing is important too. So I think that that's important. But if you're asking my opinion, I think that Adam Cole has done everything that he can do in the WWE because somebody like him who is a purely great wrestler, but that's kind of it. Not saying that he's not riveting on the microphone or that he can't cut a good promo, but with WWE, my big thing is it's characters. They like characters. They like guys who are telling their stories. And let's face it, Skylar, and we've talked about this before. I think we talked about this after the DCCW Summer Shakedown show, is that it's clear to me that Vince McMahon does not like guys knocking on his door with 15 or 16 different story ideas, 15 or 16 different character ideas. He just doesn't. He wants you to do what he says, basically. He wants you to he says, take this, you run with it. If it doesn't work, I'll think of something else for you. And I think that guys who take initiative, guys like your John Moxley's who would always show up, your CM Punks who would always show up knocking on his door. I think that those guys who take initiative should be commended, should be given opportunities, should be given the shot to let the artist do their art. Because that's what's important in professional wrestling, is letting the artist do their art. And if it doesn't work, then maybe you can guide them in a different direction. My personal opinion is that Adam Cole has done everything that he could possibly do in the WWE, even with it just being the height of NXT. But what's he going to do on WWE? Do you see Do you see them fast tracking him into the WWE title or Universal title picture? Because I don't. I don't. I really don't. And I just don't think that there's much more for him to do in the WWE. Plus, of course, you got the AEW Women's Champion, and of course, his girlfriend, Britt Baker, over there in AEW. They'll be able to spend a little bit more time together, hit the roads together and stuff like that. So you can't just think about it from a fan perspective in that aspect too. You got to think about what's best for the talent from a business perspective. And I think from a business perspective, Skylar, that not only the fact that his girlfriend is over there at AEW, there's going to be fresh matchups for him over there at AEW, more things 100%. For him to do. I just think that the right fit for Adam Cole and the right fit for professional wrestling as a whole is for him to show up on if it's not All Out, maybe a Rampage, maybe a Dynamite, maybe their next big event. But I think that the best thing for Adam Cole to do right now is to say, hey, I've done everything that I can do for the WWE. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for, making me one of your longest reigning NXT champions in the history of the company. But I think I've hit my ceiling with the WWE. I'm going to go explore my other options. And then later on after that, after his 30-day no compete clause, because for NXT it's 30 days, I think the best thing for him to do is to show up on AEW.
Do you know what's actually interesting about Adam Cole's situation that really, really is why I think Vince has offered him 7 figures and is terrified right now is his contract expired. So if he wanted to show up on Dynamite next week, he could show up on Dynamite next week.
And with listen, man, with the way that the Forbidden Door is open, he could show up anywhere. Yeah. That's not to say that he wouldn't. That's the beauty of it, right? That's not to say that he's not going to show up on Dynamite, but who knows? He might show up on Impact. He might go back to Ring of Honor. You don't know what he's going to do, and that's the beauty of having professional wrestling wide open. The way that AEW, the way that NWA, the way that Impact ROH is working. Everybody's working together, and that's what made wrestling great back in the day.
And that's the beauty is they're all working. Look at Impact. Impact just possibly, there's rumors that if you look, once again, the dirt sheets, could have signed Buddy Murphy and Braun Strowman. I mean, do you think that would have been possible before this Forbidden Door is open? Do you think any of those big stars are going to dedicate themselves to an Impact platform? No, those stars are saying, hey, I've got Impact, I've got New Japan, I've got AEW. Yep. I mean, they're just seeing all of these possibilities. Plus, I can work the indies again, because a lot of these, when you hit it big, I could imagine a lot of these wrestlers miss. They'd love to have that opportunity to go back to the way it was and just reminisce on some of the indie days and see what it's like again. Now that they've built their character, just to get back those promotions that had given them so much in the early days. You see that with Moxley going back to CZW. They're just it's good so to be able to get back. They're thankful because they've given them such a huge platform to feed their families and this sort of thing. And now it's kind of like they want to give back to those companies and show them that, how much they respect them, on the other side and show that they didn't forget about them. That's how I see, the appeal of AEW. Getting fully into AEW, unless you have anything else on Adam Cole, anything else you got to add to that?
No, I mean, no, there's really nothing to add except for I hope that he does what's best for him, whatever that may be, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of fans don't think about the happiness of the talent. They just think about what they want to see. But for me personally, I want Adam Cole to do what Adam Cole wants to do, whether it's re-sign with WWE, which I personally wouldn't want to see that, but no matter what he does, I just want him to do what's best for Adam Cole, and that's all I've really got to say about that.
Yes, definitely. We've got.
Let's go ahead and get into AEW. Let's get into AEW.
We've got one heck of a pay-per-view coming up here with All Out.
Oh yeah.
Getting into probably the most hype match, and I would say the last 10 years of wrestling. What do you think about? What are you expecting from CM Punk after his 7-year break with this match with Darby Allin? Do you think he's going to go out there and look like the CM Punk from 2011? 2014, or do you think he's gonna have a little ring rust? What's your expectations for this match at All Out?
That's a good question, Skylar. That really is a good question because and the answer is honestly, I don't know. I mean, we've seen pictures of him training with Malachi Black, trying to get back into ring shape and everything. And this is one of the questions that I had when CM Punk came back is that he's been out of the ring for 7 years. I mean, he's 7 years older, let's face it. And AEW is one of those promotions that's absolutely a young man's game. They go at breakneck speed breakneck speed, hard-hitting, strong style, professional wrestling that are going 100 miles per hour, and especially somebody like Darby Allin. I mean, Darby Allin was one of the best tope suicidas in professional wrestling right now. I mean, the way he jumps out of that ring, he'll straight up kill you.
CM Punk said no one else do it to tope ever again because Darby makes it look so good.
He makes it look great, right? He makes it look great. So I don't know what to expect. But what I do know is that what's going to be important in this match, I think, Skylar, and go with me on this here, just stay with me here. I don't think the what's going to happen bell to bell is going to be the most important thing that happens in this match. I think that we're going to see CM Punk have a decent match. I think that possibly in order to keep CM Punk looking good, I'm just being honest here, Darby Allin might have to slow himself down just a tad bit just to keep CM Punk looking good. But let's face it, we're going into this match with the idea that we're going to cheer our heads off for CM Punk when he comes out, seeing him in wrestling gear for the first time in 7 years. That's going to be important, and we're going to be happy to see that corner high knee. We're going to be happy to see that. We're going to be happy to see the go to sleep if we get a chance to see it in the match, and we're going to be happy to see, possibly CM Punk win his first match in the last 7 years. So I think that what's going to happen bell to bell isn't exactly going to be make or break. I think we are going to see a little ring rust from Punk. That's just me being truthful because Darby Allin is such a fast-paced competitor. Amazing. I love Darby Allin. He's got a great hit factor, great wrestler, but I think he is going to have to slow himself down if he's going to keep CM Punk looking good. But once again, Skylar, I don't think that what you're going to see bell to bell is going to be the most important thing. I think the most important thing you're going to see is everybody going nuts for CM Punk and every move that he does, because every move that CM Punk is going to do in that match is going to matter.
Yeah, I personally, I'm super excited, and just hearing you break down the match got the fan inside of me. I couldn't stop but smile a little bit because I'm thinking, oh my God, we're actually getting CM Punk in a wrestling ring.
Yeah.
I think they're doing everything they can to set him up for success. So I think Darby Allin is probably the best seller in the company. I think his ability to sell moves, he's going to make Punk look amazing with his ability to sell. So I think they're doing everything in their power to set him up, and I definitely think that this Darby Allin move was CM Punk's idea. I think that he honestly does want to put over Darby Allin. I mean, of course, I think Punk's going to win the match because he has to, but, just being able to be a part of that match, win or lose, it increases your star power, win or lose.
Oh, yeah.
This is probably the biggest match of Darby's career, hands down, and I think he can handle it. I think he's probably the best man for the job. I love Darby Allin. I think he's
big fan.
I hate the term future pro wrestling because I think he is the now of pro wrestling. I think he is at the point now to where he's at that point to where he's ready to, possibly be the head of the company one day. Do I think he's AEW champion in the next 4 years? No, but I think one day he will be. I just think that he's currently a great wrestler. I will tell you though, the match I'm most excited for is not the Punk match, believe it or not. The most excited match, the match I'm most excited for from a wrestling fan, from someone who loves crazy spot wrestling.
I know where you're going with this.
Oh my God, the Lucha Bros versus the Young Bucks in a steel cage match.
Yes.
Oh my God.
That's going to be really good, Skylar. I got to say that if you're asking me the match I'm most excited for, it's probably going to be that one. Just for the sole fact that anytime that the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks get in the ring together, it's going to be a banger. It's going to be a great match. It's going to be a fantastic match. Now you're putting in a cage in this and adding that into this equation. AEW Tag Team Championships on the line. It's going to be great, hard hitting. I mean, these guys, any time the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks get in the ring, it's magic, Skylar. So you're going to get a great match. You know it.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and predict something. We are going to see the craziest spot in wrestling history. I think that we're going to get a Canadian Destroyer off top the cage. I'm 100% firm on it. And I'm terrified. As a wrestling fan, I'm terrified for the men in this match because that's one of the moves that kill somebody. But I'm super excited. I've watched the All Out match, the Escalade de Muerte, or ladder match. I'll call it that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And then I watched Double or Nothing match as well. And I just fell in love with the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks both. I was because getting back into my first AEW experience, or even my first experience with anything other than WWE, was Double or Nothing. I saw the ad on BR Live, and I said I'm gonna give it a try. Had nothing better to do, and I fell in love with it. And that opened up the world, opened up New Japan for me. I learned a
Yep.
whole new plethora of wrestling because of that event. And I think the match that really sold it, of course, we got to give Dustin and Cody their props for that amazing match.
Great match.
Because that's probably the best
Great
storytelling match, and probably one of the best of all time when it comes to storytelling.
Great.
That match really sold it for me and really made me love AEW. I love their pace. And Ray Phoenix is, I'm sorry, people are going to hate me for this, but I think Ray Phoenix is the greatest wrestler in the world. I just think the things he does, he's not human. He's not human.
I mean, it's true. That's definitely a hot take in the eyes of the wrestling fans. But I mean, you got to think about it. I got a chance to go to the very first AEW show that came to Indianapolis, and I got a chance to see Matt Jackson go up against Ray Phoenix in a one-on-one match that opened the show. And my God, man, those two really. I mean, even whether the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers are in a tag team match or they're going at each other one-on-one, they just know how to put out great matches and put out a banger. So I mean, to be able to see what they've done up close, I mean, even though to some wrestling fans, to most wrestling fans, that's going to be a hot take, you have to sit up here and actually watch Ray Phoenix to really appreciate the fantastic worker that he is in the ring.
He does things that just make you second guess what physics are, what gravity is itself. I know you got a match to get to here soon, so I've got one more question for you, and we are kind of already hinted on this earlier. The rumor was Daniel Bryan for Arthur Ashe, but apparently AEW is worried about the COVID restrictions that could be coming towards New York here soon. So what is do you think we're going to see Daniel Bryan maybe coming out to, face off with Kenny Omega after he beats Christian Cage, or what do you see happening with Daniel Bryan here at the Solid pay-per-view?
You know what? This is one of the reasons we love wrestling, right? Because sometimes we really don't know what's going to happen. And that's one of the cases where I don't really know what's going to happen. I feel like, Skylar, that we are absolutely going to see Daniel Bryan at All Out, but in what capacity? What's he going to be doing? Is he going to show up after the Christian Cage and Kenny Omega match? Who knows? But you know what? I could see that happening just for the sheer fact that we've already seen Christian Cage going up against Kenny Omega already. And of course, he beat him for the Impact Championship, and that's great. You know what I mean? It's great. It's a great feel to see Christian Cage back on Impact after his great run he had back when they were TNA years ago, and that's a great feel. But do you think that he's going to beat Kenny Omega, one of the best wrestlers in the world right now, for the AEW Championship at an All Out event? I don't. So how are we going to pacify the fans on a match that we've already seen happen and that we already feel like we know what the outcome is going to be? What do? Well, here's what you do. You have that one-winged angel and you drop Christian Cage, 1, 2, 3, you call it a match, and while he's celebrating, while the Elite is celebrating, whatever they want to do, you have the American Dragon come out, whatever music that he's going to come out to, you come out. You come out to the final countdown. You have him come on out. You hear those yes chants. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen, but he's rocking a new look now that you're seeing on Twitter. And yeah, I think you have the American Dragon come out. You send the crowd home happy by having listen, all he has to do is just come out on the stage. Like, he doesn't really even have to do anything else. All he has to do is come out on the stage and show up. You close out the show with him on the stage, everybody chanting yes. You got a great visual. And then what do you got there? You got a cliffhanger because Daniel Bryan was there. He didn't say a word. He didn't say anything. But now, after that, you advertise him for the very next Dynamite, and boom, that's going to be one of the biggest rating Dynamites that you're going to see, because people are like, oh my gosh, Daniel Bryan showed up on All Out, but he didn't say anything. We have to tune in to Dynamite to see what he's going to say. You have to know how to advertise this right, and you have to know how to push this right. And I think that AEW is in prime position to do that, because let's face it, and once again, this is probably going to get me a little bit of heat, but I think that AEW is some of the best wrestling that you're going to see right now.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. And I'm not a huge fan of pushing someone the minute they get in the company and putting them right in the title scene, but am I going to complain about getting Daniel Bryan versus Kenny Omega for the AEW Championship right out the gate? No. I don't think if you are mad about that match, you're not a wrestling fan. It's that simple. They're going to create magic, and I think this is just the beginning for a very young company who is going to do some great things. And I love AEW. I love them to death. I'm planning on going to Full Gear here November 10th, and I'm planning on going to. They're going to be a Dynamite in Indy, so it's going to be a good time. It's a great, definitely, regardless if you're a World Wrestling Entertainment fan or if you're an AEW fan or if you're an Impact fan. There's never been a better time to be a professional wrestling fan. And if there's one thing that we've proven from this CM Punk return, it's that with the Raw ratings that have went up, this right here is good for pro wrestling. Doesn't matter what you're a fan of. Even if you're a WWE fan, AEW is not hurting your ratings. They're helping. Yeah. It's creating more fans, and by creating more fans, they're also getting more viewership. So I think it's better. It's good for the whole of wrestling, and I hope it continues. They continue to thrive, and I'm just glad we're back to the heyday of professional wrestling, back with multiple companies and multiple contenders, at the forefront. But anyways, I know you've got a big match to get to. You've got a big event to get to. It's a pleasure having you on. I appreciate you for taking the time to speak with me here. For real, though, guys, if you guys have not listened to the In Your Howse podcast, you are doing yourself displeasure. You've heard the man speak here for about almost 50 minutes, actually. He knows what he's doing. He's actually in the product. He is he knows what he's doing. He's very knowledgeable. He's traveling with wrestlers. And, even if you don't see from a background standpoint what he's done for the young podcasters like myself, he's always willing to help us, and he's just a great person. And if there's someone you'd want to support, it's definitely this man right here. So definitely, I'll have the link in the description. Definitely give him a look and give him a listen, subscribe, and follow his podcast. Great guy, and he's going to be, doing great things here with this podcast.
Awesome. I appreciate that, man. Guys, definitely keep listening to this podcast because Skylar and Jake and Shaq doing great things. And it's great to see, a new generation of podcasters coming in and breaking wrestling down, because wrestling media is so important and wrestlers need as much media as possible. It doesn't matter if they're just starting out. It doesn't matter what level, because I've interviewed guys with Impact Wrestling. I've interviewed guys that are now on Ring of Honor. I've interviewed guys that are on MLW, interviewed guys that you see over in New Japan, and they're always willing to give that 30 minutes to an hour to get those interviews, because they understand that all media is important. So it doesn't matter how small the podcast or how big the podcast, they like the media. Guys, go ahead and check out In Your Howse. We've been doing it for a couple years now. We've had some really great guests, such as Mr. Kennedy, Molly Holly, Myron Reed over there at MLW. If you guys remember Barry Horowitz back in the day, we had him. I mean, so many great guests. Ricky Ruckus, who does music for AEW, we've had him. We just had on a Bleacher Report writer for Bleacher Report Wrestling, Doc Mueller, on the very last episode. I mean, we've had some amazing, incredible guests in the last 2 years. So go ahead and check that out. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, everywhere that you get your major podcasting platforms. Also, tonight, it's going down to Merge 56, the Outbreak 8 tournament. Next month, I'm going to be in Indianapolis at the Emerson Theater. Me and Sam are going to be jockeying for position at AWR, which is Asylum Wrestling Revolution, for their Rotten to the Core 2 event. It's going to be great. And then, of course, Skylar, you already know, October 3rd, we're going to be over there in Muncie, Indiana, Mad Jacks, once again for DCCW. That's Delaware County Championship Wrestling for Harvest Havoc 3. Some great names are going to be there that you're familiar with. You're going to see Boogeyman. You're going to see Gangrel. Sam's going to be going up against Gangrel in a casket match. It's going to be a great time. Rikishi's going to be showing up. Jake Christ, who you see on Impact Wrestling, is going to be there. Corey Storm, who has made appearances on 205 Live. He's going to be there. He's awesome. Awesome wrestler.
I watched him live in August last year.
Oh, yeah, he's great, man. Great worker, and even better young man. Had a chance to interview him. But, guys, go check that out. Of course, I have my own beard line here for beard products here. The director, Ringmaster beard product. Get your beard game up, man. Get your beard game up, Skylar. I know you got that fresh. I need to check that out.
I need to check that out.
Yeah, you got your fresh young face, man. You got that fresh young face. But if you want to get that beard game up, go and check it out. Ringmaster Beard Company. Check them out on Twitter. Check them out on Facebook. Check them out on Instagram. They have some great products. I have my own line there called The Director, with tea tree oil and so much great blends of eucalyptus as well. So, I love to keep my beard nice and fresh. But most importantly, guys, I just want to say before I get out of here, Give these young men here your time. They are very, very young, but still know so much about the professional wrestling business at a young age. They've got a lot of room to grow, and I'm excited to see where Skylar and Jake and Shaq go, whether it be sports or whether it be professional wrestling, which is also considered a sport. But check them out, man, because they're doing really great things. And I'm excited to work with you guys more at DCCW to help you guys as commentary. You guys have a great foundation, knowledgeable. I got a chance to watch and edit some stuff on your guys' stream. You guys have a bright, bright future. And I'm so happy to be able to work with you guys and take you guys under my wing and point you guys in the right direction, because I love what I see. And I love young, hungry talent that want to help professional wrestling, just like I did when I started. You guys are doing awesome work. Thank you for having me on this great show. I really appreciated it. I had a great time chopping it up with you, Skylar, and I hope this isn't the last time that I get a chance to come on. And you guys are welcome to come on In Your House anytime to chop it up about some wrestling with your boy, the director.
Right.